is Dylan, and for my video essay, I'm going to be comparing Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night, written by the late Dylan Thomas, and Farewell Transmission, written by the late Songs Ohio frontman Jason Molina. And I chose these two because of their messages of a life worth living regardless of the chosen path of that life. Initially, I chose Do Not Go Gentle as kind of a knee-jerk reaction because I've always liked the poem, and to be honest, Dylan Thomas is where my parents got the inspiration for my name, so I figured I would just go with it. And after that, though, I just sat there puzzling over what song I was going to use. And I just searched and searched, and nothing was clicking for me. I was beginning to worry I was just going to have to move on and try to find a different poem or something. But then as I was rereading it, the repetition of the lines rage, rage against the dying of the light, and do not go gentle into that good night suddenly made me think of the song Farewell Transmission, which has the repetitive lines long dark blues and listen. And that's when I thought I might be onto something, and so I started digging into the two of them together, and I knew I had it. And so initially, the first thing that struck me was just the similarity to me between the titles, Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night and Farewell Transmission. The first kind of strikes me as a call to get out some sort of last message or action into the world, a cry against death. And Farewell Transmission is kind of the same thing. It's, it might be the last show of a radio show, and this is their farewell transmission, and they're going to give it their all, and it's the last you're ever going to hear of them, and it's a final message before the inevitable end, some sort of succinct broadcast to those around us before that final radio silence. And then if that silence and darkness is kind of the death aspect of one side of a coin, then light and living would be the other side of that coin. And both pieces have repeated contrasts to light and dark, just from start to finish. They both just view light and dark through various metaphors or allusions, directly and indirectly, but really both of them just are riddled with it. For Dylan Thomas here, a night is in the title, so there's dark. You have old age should burn, and rave, which conjures up lightness. At the close of day, darkness. The dying of the light, dark, light. The wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, again, dark and light. Just moving on, good men, the last wave by, crying how bright. Their frail deeds may have danced in a green bay. Again, the repetition of rage, rage. Grave men near death see, who see with blinding sight. And then blind eyes right after that is kind of using the same word almost to again contrast light and dark. So that's, it's, again, riddled with it from start to finish in Do Not Go Gentle. And then here in Farewell Transmission, you see the same thing. It starts off, the whole place is dark, every light on this side of the town. We'll all be brothers of the fossil fire of the sun. And so just light and dark right there. And then here you have kind of cold gray rock and working in the concrete, so this kind of drab darkness, and then all the great setup of hearts all at once start to beat, kind of as like life, breathing life into that drabness. So there's some more light and dark. After tonight, night obviously being dark, I will resurrect it. It's just more light and dark and light and dark. And so really, like, that was the first thing that just stood out to me. I couldn't avoid it, basically. And then continuing even through Farewell Transmission, coming down here, we have more towards the bottom is you have the dead moon in its jaws with a big star about to fall. Stars obviously being brilliantly bright, but then contrasting with midnight. And then here you have this constant, you have long dark blues, but then will-o'-the-wisp, and a will-o'-the-wisp being kind of an ethereal light that draws people further and deeper into darkness. Long dark blues, the big star is falling. Again, the bright star, but contrasted with the darkness. And it just really, the light and dark juxtapositions throughout both pieces, I thought was very stark. And so that was definitely for me one of the biggest similarities. And then also, through all of the light and dark wordplay, the overall messages kind of both pieces is choosing life for the sake of choosing life, and regardless of how you've accomplished this. Dylan Thomas is referencing, if you go through each part of it, he has his wise men, his good men, his wild men, his grave men, and he calls on all of them to not go gentle and to rage. And he then implores his father at the end here. He says, "And you, my father, there on your sad height, curse me, bless me, I pray." So he lists off all these different types of people and the lives they may live. And then he implores his father, not labeling him as any type in particular, to do the same, regardless of who you are, basically. What he's saying is you still must fight for your life, and you must fight to have that impact. And then meanwhile, you have Jason Molina over here saying more or less the same thing when you start getting into it. He says down here, the line that really stood out to me the most, one of the lines that I just love about this song, is, "Real truth about it is, no one gets it right. Real truth about it is, we're all supposed to try." And as well as a little bit further up, actually, he has, "After tonight, if you don't want this to be a secret out of the past, I will resurrect it. I'll have a good go at it. I'll streak his blood across my beak and dust my feathers with his ash." And it's just kind of this, it's got the kind of the same visceral, just the energy and the fight almost of Dylan Thomas with his raging against the dying of the light and not going gentle. Both pieces just kind of stood out very much in that respect to me as well. They both kind of say it's more or less your duty to make this happen in your life. And so those are three kind of major points that I found in it. But then, just picking through these, I kept finding so many little similarities that were just kind of fun. Over here you have Dylan Thomas referencing blind eyes could blaze like meteors. And then over here you have Jason Molina talking about the big star about to fall. So you have meteors and the big star. A lot of similarities there. You have Dylan Thomas referencing his father. And then over here you have Jason Molina referencing his mother. So that's kind of a fun, opposite, but they're still similar in that respect. And then over here, something I thought was actually pretty neat, a real nice connection, is you have good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. I take away from that the green bay just kind of being this large body of water, and and these good men, regardless of how good they are, what they've done in life just kind of seems to get washed away in this large body of water. And then over here you have Jason Molina talking about, real truth about it is, there ain't no end to the desert I'll cross. I've really known it all along. And so you have, again, different but the same. You have Dylan Thomas referencing this large body of water that you get kind of washed away in. And then you have Jason Molina referencing the desert, which would be just as easy to get lost and washed away in. But regardless, they're both imploring to push on. And then even just some lightly religious references. You have Jason Molina over here talking about someone must have set him up. Now they'll be working in the cold gray rock. And, who's that someone setting them up? Some sort of a higher power, God, take from that what you will. And then over here, you have Dylan Thomas referencing, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. And there's just this, I kind of found, maybe not necessarily direct religious references, but kind of there nonetheless, and just another little connection between the two of them. But yeah, I just, when you really stop and look at both pieces, I found lots of fun little connections. But definitely the overall arching theme between the two of them would be, again, that's just finding your peace in the world and making yourself really live life and not just get through it. And that is my essay, more or less. I hope you all got something from it, and I'll make sure to post I'll post the song and a recording of Dylan Thomas just for fun to listen to on my Google page. So again, I hope you all got something out of it. Thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you guys later.